South China Morning Post, 4 March 2024, the wait for the Chinese envoy to New Delhi continues to strain ties between China and India. As part of its plan to rule the Indian Ocean, China has been waging an all-out war against the Indian subcontinent. Despite the significance Beijing places on its relationship with New Delhi, where foreign policy is mainly centered on its periphery and the interactions with big countries, China has been without an ambassador to India for 16 months, according to experts. The position has been empty since Sun Weidong, the most recent occupant, was elevated to a foreign vice-ministership in November 2022. The two nations have been engaged in a military standoff since the deadly conflict at their disputed border in the Himalayas in June 2020, and the gap, the largest since 1976, has coincided with a severe deterioration in relations. Observers consider the extended length of time without a Chinese ambassador to India quite unusual. They also noted that appointing a new envoy would be welcomed on both sides as a critical first step in fostering confidence. The prolonged absence of a senior Chinese official, according to Wang Dihua, a specialist on India at the Shanghai Municipal Center for International Studies, has exposed the harm that border tensions have done to relations between the two most populous countries in the world. It's highly unusual in Sino-Indian relations history, Wang noted, which many interpret as an ominous indication that makes it harder for both parties to resolve their disagreements, particularly when relations are strained. Even though it is unlikely that New Delhi will ever become a friend of Beijing, China needs to make every effort to build positive ties with India, or at the least to win it over from the US on matters of strategic importance like trade and Washington's Indo-Pacific strategy. After all, our biggest rivals continue to be the US and Japan. Wang stated that Beijing's appointment to the position was imperative to help China stabilize relations with its nuclear-armed neighbor in the Himalayas, given the country's escalating geopolitical and ideological rivalry with the US-led West. Xu Feihong, the Assistant Foreign Minister for Financial and Administrative Affairs until December, is expected to be the frontrunner for the position. After serving for nearly 3 years, he was fired without cause or notification of his next post. Rumors surfaced in the Hong Kong daily Sing Tao Daily that the purpose of the move was to clear the path for 59-year-old Xu, who served as ambassador to Romania and Afghanistan before accepting the New Delhi position. Additionally, in January, The Wire, an Indian news outlet, stated that Xu's appointment as China's envoy was nearing completion. The article cited anonymous sources asserting that New Delhi had been informed of the news about the candidate. Beijing and New Delhi have not verified the appointment. According to Lu Zhongyi, a senior scholar at the South Asia and China Center of the Shanghai Institutes for International Studies, an early appointment would be very appreciated to prevent further deterioration of the already tense relations. Lu said that although Xu was not as directly involved in managing Indian issues as Sun and his predecessor, Luo Zhouhui, he would still be a suitable choice for the position. Considered experts in South Asian matters, Sun, the current foreign vice minister in charge of Asian affairs, and Luo both have a wealth of regional expertise, having served as China's senior ambassador to Pakistan, among other roles. Lu, however, drew attention to the fact that Xu, who represented China in Afghanistan from 2010 to 2013, would not be the first high official to New Delhi to have no prior experience traveling to the country in South Asia. According to him, Luo's predecessor, Liu Cheng, a Russian specialist dispatched to India in 2014, just before President Xi Jinping's first formal visit to New Delhi, also lacked prior Indian expertise. Following their assignments in India, Luo and Sun were appointed foreign vice-ministers upon their return to Beijing. Lu held the vice-ministerial position of deputy to Yang Jiechi, China's senior diplomat at the time. Lu stated that if confirmed, Xu's appointment would be by previous agreements, as all three former Chinese ambassadors had been assistant foreign ministers before accepting the position in New Delhi. But he issued a warning, pointing out that Sino-Indian relations, which he described as being at a critical juncture, showed signs of a more profound geopolitical spike on top of their border deadlock amid the growing US-China rivalry. Liu stated, "I don't think there is too much complexity in the border dispute. What matters is whether both parties can show that they are willing to cooperate to find a solution that works for everyone, especially New Delhi." However, even in the unlikely event that the border disputes are settled, I do not see any immediate improvement in bilateral relations. Liu claims that Beijing is also worried about New Delhi's attempts to economically distance itself from its neighbor and take its place as the world's factory in the global supply chain, as well as India's hysterics about China and its increasingly punitive measures against Chinese investment. Liu said that Xu's prior financial affairs skills could be helpful if the seasoned diplomat were assigned to New Delhi. This week, a Bloomberg report stated that a study conducted by London-based Fathom Financial Consulting revealed that India has made progress in attempting to overtake China as the market leader for electronics exports by increasing its share of the export market through tax breaks and other incentives. To turn the page on the tensions, the two nations concluded another round of commander-level border discussions last week, aiming to find a solution that would satisfy both parties as soon as possible, according to the Chinese Defense Ministry. Beijing expressed similar aspirations in December at the beginning of this most recent round of diplomatic negotiations with New Delhi on the border issues. There is, however, little indication of a speedy resolution, let alone a complete disengagement of Chinese and Indian forces along the line of actual control in eastern Ladakh, after 21 rounds of military-level negotiations and 28 rounds of diplomatic discussions. Beijing and New Delhi accuse each other of stalling the situation, and neither seems willing to give in to the highly heated border issues. As for the Quad, which Beijing has denounced as an Indo-Pacific NATO, Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi has presided over a significant shift in the country's policy towards Washington. This includes strengthening military ties and increasing cooperation with the US, Japan, and Australia. Although Xi and Modi had their first direct talk in a year in August on the fringes of the BRICS meeting, where they briefly discussed the border situation, bilateral ties have remained essentially at a standstill. Xi bowed out of the September Group of 20 summit in India, primarily interpreted as a jab at New Delhi, following Modi's refusal to back Xi's flagship Belt and Road Initiative during the July virtual Shanghai Cooperation Organization summit.